Morning everyone. Thank you for your attendance on this morning's BTC Software Breakfast webinar. My name is Daniel Keane and I'll be spending the next hour with you discussing a little bit of a presentation on BTC Software, who we are as a company, what we offer, and we'll also look at a demonstration of the product. So we're going to be looking at practice management, year-end accounts and corporation tax. So without further ado, we'll move through with the presentation. So here's the agenda of today's webinar. So firstly, we'll have a little welcome, a little bit about BTC Software. So there's a number of names that I recognize on this morning's webinar, but there's also a few names that I don't recognize. So for those of you who maybe haven't seen BTC Software or aren't aware of who BTC Software are, you'll kind of find a little bit about us, our mission statement, the types of clients that we work with, what we offer, and as well as what we offer in terms of the solutions, what we provide around those solutions. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the training, we're going to be talking about the support, the account management, that sort of thing. We're going to move on to a product demonstration, and then we should have some questions and answers at the end. So if you do have any questions throughout the webinar, please do use that GoToMeeting panel on the right-hand side of your screen. All the questions are going to be anonymous. If you've got any questions coming into the webinar, obviously please do ask them now. It may come up a bit later on in the demonstration, but you never know. We should have some time for those questions and answers at the end. So please don't hesitate to ask a question if you do have one. Okay, so there's me. That's myself. My name's Dan Keane. I'm the new business sales executive at BTC Software. So I've spent around near on 3 years now working with accountants in practice and also accountants in business to find the software that's most appropriate to them, and of course max efficiency either in their practice or in their business through software. I've also got a guilty pleasure and a hidden talent there that I won't read out, but you can read those for yourself. So there's our company history. So initially we were founded in 1999, specializing in corporation tax. In 2009, we added our practice management and self-assessment modules. And then in 2014, we kind of added the final piece of the puzzle, which was our accounts production module. And that formed what's now known as our solution suite, which covers the majority of accountants' filing needs. We've got around 2,500 practices that are reliant on our software, as well as 1,000 accountants in business using BTC Software. So we don't just have accountants in practice, we also have accountants in business as well, whether that's for making tax digital for VAT, or whether that's for filing their own corporation tax returns, maybe even lawyers, solicitors looking at self-assessment partnership tax returns. We've got over 15,000 users of our software. We're all UK based, including our support team and our development team. So we're based in Addleston, so just south of the M25, and we were multi-award winning, back-to-back awards. So this year we won Accounts Production Software of the Year, Tax Software of the Year, and Solution Suite of the Year. So these are an example of some of our clients. So we've got Lambert & Chapman, PKF, Francis Clark, RSM and Shipley's. Now these kind of range anywhere from using our Making Tax Digital, the VAT product, to using our full solution suite, which would include all of the tax, the accounts and the practice management. So a little look at our integration. Now we actually will be looking at a couple of these in the demonstration a bit later on. So we've got a few bookkeeping packages there which follow Xero, Free Agent, Sage, QuickBooks and Reckon One. So you're able to log into each of those different bookkeeping packages directly from within our software to upload a trial balance. As well as that, we've got My DocSafe and DocuSign. So that's going to be your GDPR e-filing and portal sending software. So that will send documents through a secure portal directly from BTC Software, and then your client gets email notified that you've sent them a document with a link to sign into either their My DocSafe or DocuSign account, electronically sign it off, and then send it straight back to you. So we are adding integration as we go on, but currently these are the different companies that integrate within our solution suite. So also our mission statement. Now our mission statement, we've actually recently changed this, and we believe the sentence here best summarizes kind of our ethos at BTC Software. So we've come up with our mission is to develop feature-rich, affordable software that simplifies accounting professionals' lives and makes their practices more productive and profitable. Now, on the left-hand side here, you've got the four main components of the solution suite. So I'll go through these. So you've got the tax submission. Now, this is going to include your corporation tax, individual partnership and trust tax returns. So that's all submission to HMRC and has full integration with the year-end accounts production module, in which you can import a trial balance using the API, so Xero, QuickBooks, some of the ones that we've just seen, importing via a spreadsheet, importing via incomplete records, which is kind of our mini bookkeeping module. If you've got a client who comes in with a shoebox of receipts, you can manual post directly into the incomplete records module and export that into the accounts production. And then we've got full integration with tax modules. And actually, I haven't got that on there as well, but the year-end accounts production module does include charity accounts. So we've got 5 charity accounts templates. So if you do have any charities, we've got you covered there as well. You've got the Companies House filing. So you've got full submission to Companies House, whether they're filleted, abbreviated, and you've got abridged options there as well. And practice management, which we will be looking at today as well. So that's going to include report designing, whether that's for client letters, such as engagement letters, tax questionnaires, or the covering letters, which are going to be on the front of your year-end accounts and tax return reports. You've got event task trackers. So we're talking about reminders, recurrences, and setting up reports within the software to track all of your different events. Document management, so we can upload documents into the software, whether that's scanning them in directly from a printer, or whether that's uploading even whole client folders if you want to into the software. And then kind of brought into that is the e-filing, so the MyDocSafe and DocuSign, which we've discussed. You've got the integration there, and then also the customization of client data fields. So out of the software that's out there, ours is probably one of the most malleable in that you can change all of the different areas, change whether it's actually changing descriptions in the notes of the accounts, or it's the customization of client data fields. So we'll look at those, and we will be kind of looking almost like a full demonstration of the solution suite, which is going to be on the left-hand side there. Now, we do have add-on modules outside of the solution suite. We aren't going to be looking at any of these today. Cloud Access, of course, we will, because the version that I'll be demonstrating is actually the cloud solution. But Company Secretarial, we won't have time to look at. If Company Secretarial is of interest, do let me know. Just drop down a note into the questions box, and I'll send you over a pre-recorded webinar, a recent pre-recorded webinar of the Company Secretarial module, which we've recently recorded. So I'll send you a link to that on our YouTube channel. And as well as that, the MTD for VAT bridging software as well. We're not going to be looking at that today, but if it is of interest, let us know. We'll either organise a one-to-one demo for you, or we'll send you those links to the pre-recorded webinars. So what do we provide? So the first one I've got on the list there, and this is outside of our actual product offering. The first one that we've got there is the installation guidance. So upon a purchase of BTC software, we're going to help you get up and running. That includes installation guidance. That includes sitting with you, making sure you've got everything installed, set up, ready to go. And then coming alongside that, you've got the data migration. So if you're using third-party software already, we can take across all of your standing client data. So we're talking about names, addresses, UTRs, telephone numbers, all of that stuff can come across. Our support team would handle all of that for you, and we don't charge for data migration. So we take that all out of your hair. We've got the full telephone product support. So our hours are Monday to Friday between 9 and half 5. We've even got email coverage outside of those hours as well. So you're never going to be left in the dark with the software, and we've got award-winning support. As well as that, we offer initial product training. Upon a purchase to BTC software, we can provide a bespoke training package, depending on what your requirements are and what modules you've purchased. We've also got the designated account manager, so you'll be assigned an account manager who can deal with any questions firsthand, and who also will deal with renewals, which is going to segue me onto the next point there, the last one, which is flexible renewal terms. So we don't kind of lock you down into any contracts like other providers would do out there. There's no 60-day, 90-day clauses with BTC software. We've got a very high retention rate, so should you not choose to renew BTC software, then that decision is up to you. So that's going to draw a conclusion to the actual presentation of the software. So we've kind of had an insight there on who BTC software are, the types of products that we offer. And now we're actually going to take a look at the demonstration. So we're going to take a look at the software itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tab out my presentation here. I'm going to open up the product at the bottom. So as I said, we're going to be looking at practice management today. We're going to take a look at year-end accounts, the integration with the bookkeeping packages, and then also the integration, the two-way integration between the accounts and the tax modules. So firstly, I'm going to start by logging in. Now, really, the first thing to mention about the software is the fact that we have two variants. So as I mentioned, the version that you're seeing on the screen is the cloud solution, but we do also have a desktop variant as well. So if you've got a server set up and you want our support team to point the software to the server, or if you've got a hosted environment, then you can utilize our desktop solution. Or if you want the cloud and you want your software hosted so that you can access it remotely and you don't have to worry about backups, then you've got that option there as well. Now, within the software, you've got two views. So this is the first of our two views, which is our individual view. So on this grid section box on the right-hand side here, you're going to have a list of your individual clients. Now, these are going to consist of your sole traders and any individuals that are associated with your organizations. So we're talking about directors, partners, shareholders, trustees, all that sort of thing. Now, the other view that we have is if I go to client up the top here, and you can see the two views there alongside each other, we've got the organizational view. Now, this time on the right-hand side, we're going to have our limited companies, partnerships, trusts, and also our charities. Now, whichever view you're in, whether you're in the individual view or the organizational, and you can see if I put the two alongside each other here, you're going to have these exact same set of tabs that run along the top here. Now, all the information that falls under these tabs is going to be pertaining to the client you've selected from the right-hand side. So you can see if I select Smith Software, all of the information now is pertaining to Smith Software. Now, I'm going to close down the individual view, and we're not going to be looking at self-assessment today. Again, if self-assessment is of interest to you, let us know. We can organize a one-to-one demo, or we can send you across some of the pre-recorded webinars on self-assessment, or some of our short 10 steps to using BTC software YouTube videos. Now, throughout the webinar, I'm going to go through each of these different tabs and I'll explain the features and benefits of each. And then we're going to finish on this one here, which is the task, tax and accounts production return tabs, which is where we're going to get to all of the compliance. So this is going to be your bread and butter tab. That's going to be the one that you're using day to day. So firstly, we've got our details tab. Now, the details tab is going to hold the majority of your standing client data. So we're looking at names, UTRs, telephone numbers. All of this information, as I've mentioned, is all information that we can extract out of your existing provider if you don't currently use BTC software. Now, the way that you can do that is if you go to client and import, you can see the drop down there. So there's a few different providers and the software will actually allow you to do this yourself with instructions. But as I said, it's something that the support team would handle for you, and we don't charge for data migration. Now, as well as that, in terms of onboarding new clients, if I go back to my demo client here, you've got the Company's House search. Now, this is a direct link into the Company's House gateway. So we can search here for a company name or a company number. So for example, if I put in BTC software, I can populate the information held within Company's House into my details page. So really the key takeaway here is that we're not having to manually key that data in. You're either bringing it in from your existing provider or we're bringing it in directly from Company's House. Now, that kind of link in with the Company's House database is really the genesis to us building the company secretarial solution. Now, as I said, I won't go into too much detail on the company secretarial. It's quite hearty in terms of functionality, and we haven't got time to look at it today, but it's going to give you an overview of features. You've got company formations, dividend vouchers, minutes, automatic email reminders to clients, and many, many more. So if that is of interest, as I said, let me know, and we'll get something sent across to you. As well as that, you've got links to BTC Hub, which currently houses our MTD for VAT module. Again, we're not going to be looking at that today, but if it is of interest, let me know. Now, both of those products are web browser-based products. So rather than having a desktop solution where we host your data, you're accessing it from a web browser. Now, BTC Hub essentially is our development platform for the future. So if you're a customer, you'll be very, very excited to hear this. What we're looking to do in the future of BTC software is to move all of this existing desktop data that you can see here, or this functionality, into BTC Hub so that we've got a full solution suite in a web browser-based product so that you can log in from any machine, anywhere, and obviously everything's backed up. Now, moving into BTC Hub, the next few things that we're going to offer, a brand new product is going to be time and fees. And then we're also going to start by adding some of our existing practice management functionality into BTC Hub. Then the tax, obviously, when MTD for business comes around, followed by corporation tax, and then accounts. So we go. So that's our details page. Now, moving on, we've got Know Your Client, which features further information on our client. Now, this particular information here isn't mandatory, but it's really important in terms of building up as much client data as we can, and obviously keeping everything under the one roof. So up at the top here, we've got some risk levels, risk notes, and a tick box for Met client face-to-face in line with anti-money laundering. You've got some validation checks here with the identity verification documents. We can scan in maybe a driving license or a passport, or we can simply move one in. And if I drop down from the categories there, you can see the types of documents that we're talking about here. Now, as well as that, we've got some further notes at the bottom, and in line with GDPR, you've got some marketing preferences. So whether your client prefers to be contacted via email, post, text, or telephone. Now, we've also got some key dates here. Now, this is a really nice one to show you because the key dates are actually automatically generated for you. Now, these key dates are coming from the details tab. So where we've got dates here like that period end, year of first financial year end, these dates are automatically going to populate for you. And not only that, they won't lie dormant within the software. So you get this nice dashboard view of those key dates that you've got coming up for that client that you've selected from the right-hand side. You've got contact details, which are going to be your addresses. Now, again, as I said, this is something that comes across from your existing provider through the data migration, and it's included in the company's house search. But if you want to add additional addresses, nice and simple, just choose the add option and you can pop it in there. So we've got associated individuals. Now, this is where we can associate individuals with our organization. So we're selecting a limited company here. So we've got a few directors. If we were selecting a partnership, we can associate some partners and trustees with trusts. Now, the way that we associate our individuals, the way that we link the individuals and the organizations together is really nice and easy. We just choose the add option. Now we're going to select the role of the individual. And that second drop down there is going to give us a list of that individual view that we briefly saw earlier. And then we've got associated organizations. So if you're in the individual view, you can associate organizations with the individuals. It's almost like the reverse of this one here. But also in the organizational view, under associated organizations, you can group the companies together. Now, to summarize the first 6 tabs that we've seen there, that's really going to hold the majority of your key client data. As you can see, the majority of that we can actually bring in already so that you don't have to worry about manually keying that in. And once you've got that information in there, obviously you can always refer back to it. But essentially, you won't be using those first 6 tabs again. So we'll move on to appointments. Now, appointments is really going to kind of lead me quite nicely into showing you some of the practice management features within our software. Now, the best way to describe our practice management, it's a bit of a colloquial term really, is by what we call the 3R principle. And it reports, it reminds, and it creates recurrences. Now, what we mean by that is we can report on system-defined events, which is anything in BTC software when you come to use it, or customized events, which is anything that you add into the software. So an example of a customized event might be a reminder to do with payroll, bookkeeping, it could be a birth date, it could literally be anything that you want. Now, once you set up those events, whether they're customized or system defined, you can set up reminders to either remind yourself or someone else within the practice of those events that you've got coming up, and then also recurrence. So you would only have to add that event once, and then decide however many times that event is going to occur, whether it's daily, weekly, quarterly, monthly, so on. Now, there are 2 types of events that you've got within BTC software. You've got the appointments, which is something that you're looking to attend. So you can see some examples here, an external meeting, maybe an appointment with a client, a webinar such as this one, or you've got a task. And a task is either something that you're setting yourself up to do or someone within the practice. Now, appointments being kind of fairly self-explanatory, I'm not going to go into too much detail on appointments, but it will lead me quite nicely into showing you some of the reports that we have within the software. So we've got our single statutory event reports in that I can pull up a report here on any of my different tax returns or an SA payment schedule. I've got reports for year-end accounts and company's house submission statuses, VAT returns, calculations and exclusions. This particular report is going to show me which of my individual clients qualify for making tax digital for business based on their income. Company secretarial readiness reports to ensure that we don't import duplicates if we're missing company's house authentication codes, that sort of thing. Client list reports, effort summaries if you include effort, activity time log summaries, so that's going to record the amount of time spent within each of the modules, and as I said, something that we're looking to expand on later this year to include a full time and fees package. So we'll see billing and timesheets come into that as well. And pending events, which we'll come back to, which is probably going to be our most widely used report. Now, if we look at one of the singular events, we've got, well, it's almost January around the corner now. So if we go for the individual tax return report, now this particular report here is showing me all of my individual clients that are listed as active clients, and it's showing me the status of their individual tax return for the 2019 tax period. So you can see here, even though I've not created the majority of my individual tax returns, they're still being logged into this report for me. So the really big takeaway here that we've got with the reports in BTC software is with these system defined events. So any sort of tax returns, year-end accounts, they're automatically added into these reports for you and automatically tracked via these statuses. So if I go for an earlier tax year, maybe 2015, for example, you can see that I've also got some that are in progress. Now, each of these different reports, and this is kind of a rule throughout, are only ever going to show your outstanding events, so the ones you've not yet completed, until you tick show completed over on the right hand side, and then that will show you the completed ones as well. Now, to use an individual tax return as an example, if I were to submit an individual tax return successfully to HMRC, my status would automatically change to complete and then won't show in this particular report, as we can see here. As well as that, I can export this report out into a CSV file, into Excel. Now, I know a lot of our clients do that for color coding or adding and subtracting columns. You can print, and you've also got these filters here. So you've got the filters across tax years. You've got these search filters here, so I can search for myself, for example. I might want to search via the client reference number, the UTR. You get the picture. Now, that's if you want to pull up a report on one specific event. Our most used report is going to be this one here, which is the pending events report. So if you're using Outlook or if you're using Excel to track your deadlines and reminders, this is going to be the best one for you, and this is probably going to be the most similar to what you're using at the moment. Now, this particular report is going to show me a holistic view of all of the events that I've currently got outstanding. So there's so many different ways that I can filter this down. It's almost endless. So I can filter it across by user. So I can do all users, tax year as well. And then I've got, again, my search filters. And you can see I've got so many more search filters this time. So at the moment, we're searching via the event. So let's say, as an example, you wanted to pull up all of your outstanding corporation tax returns. All you're going to do is just type in corporation tax. You might want to look at a payroll event. I might have a demo on here. Engagement letter, for example. As well as that, I can search via the client. If you've got a client coming in, let's say we've got Smith Software coming in. Right, what have I got left to finish for Smith Software? All you're going to have to do is just type in Smith into the client. You can search for individual clients. You can search via the period end, which is obviously going to be a popular one. So you can see what's due in the next 4 weeks, what's due this month. Have I got something coming up? If you do the to or from date, you can search the date into the search bar. And as well as the period end as well, we've also got the due date. Now, the due date is actually a customized date as to when you want that event to be completed by. So it's slightly different to the period end. It's not the deadline date. It's when you want the event to be completed by. So a lot of our clients will do that slightly premature to the deadline date, or if they've got customized dates, like you can see, or customized events that you can see here, where they're not going to have a period start or a period end because there isn't an accounting period for a telephone call. They've set the due date for the 13th of November that you can see there. So they can see, again, similar to what we saw before, similar to filters, what's due in the next 4 weeks, what's due this month, and they can track everything that way. Now, as I said, all of the different reports are only ever going to show your outstanding events until you tick show completed, and then that will show the completed ones as well. And just as we saw before, you can double click on any of these events to open them up. With your customized events, you can even mark them as complete. And of course, you can export this out into a spreadsheet and print this off as well. Now, we'll take a quick look now at how we can bring a customized event into this pending events report. And we will be coming back to this later on in the demonstration to track a set of year-end accounts as we move into the compliance. So I'm going to go into my next tab, which is Task, Tax and Accounts Production Returns, and choose the Add option. Now, whenever we see a dark blue box, such as the one that we're getting here, within the software, it means that this particular field that was highlighted is customizable. So you'll see this in the event type filter. And what that means is we can customize our own events so that we can track them through the different reports. Now, you'll see that also with statuses. I've kind of got a gobbledygook status here. You can customize your own statuses if you wanted to have a status that was with Dan or pending or something like that. Then you can add those directly into the software. Now, these ones in bold up at the top here, these are my system-defined events, so my compliance tasks. And all of the ones outside of that bold font, these are all the customized events that I've added into the software. So when you come to use the software, you might not have as many as this, but this is just my example here as I've added loads of customized events. So if we choose one of these customized events, let's go for this one here. We've got a VAT quarter event. So we can choose a description of the event. We can assign it to another user, and if we choose a start date, a due date, and a reminder date and time, so if we set up a reminder for 2 minutes time, and we'll stick some notes in here. So to go back to that 3R principle now, we're reporting on the event, we've chosen our reminder, we've also got the option to choose a recurrence, so we can decide whether this is going to be daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. Now my particular event is a quarterly event, so I'm going to choose monthly and every 3 months. And you can see as I've selected that, it's also given me the options for range of recurrence at the bottom here. So I can decide whether it's going to recur indefinitely or end after a certain amount of occurrences. Now, once I'm happy with that, I can save and close. And it's going to give me a description of the event that we've just created under the Task, Tax and Accounts Production Returns tab. And now I can start to track that through the pending events report that we've just seen. So if I drop down to pending events, I can search for the event. So if I search for VAT, straight away you can see there it is. We can also search via the client. So we'll bring up Smith Software. There you can see it's highlighted. And then finally, oops, well, there we go. We can search via a reminder and it's come up as well. Or we can search via the due date. There we go. So you can see how easy it is to add an event into BTC software and obviously track it through these different reports. And there's our reminder. Even if we have the software minimized, this reminder is still going to come front and center of the screen. So you could be working on some bookkeeping. If you use online bookkeeping like QuickBooks Xero, you could be surfing the internet. This reminder is still going to come front and center of the screen for you. You can open it up, make any changes that you want to in here. You've got the option to snooze it. Or I'm going to dismiss it for now, otherwise it's going to keep popping up and annoying us throughout the webinar. So we'll move on now to reports and letters. Now reports and letters is going to give us the option to create global templates for covering letters for the front of your year-end accounts and tax return reports, and then also your client letters. So these are going to include your tax questionnaires, your payment reminder letters, your engagement letters, and any customized letter that you want to add into the software as well. So if I go into administration up at the top here and go to report and template design, we'll start off with the covering letters. Now what we're seeing here is a global template of an individual tax return covering letter. So we've saved it as a global template, so essentially it's one template per remit. So once we edit this and we're happy with it, it's then used across the board so that we don't have to go in and change dates and names every time that we want to create that customized covering letter. So really the first thing that we would do here is introduce a PDF background template. So I'll show you an example of the one that I've got here if I choose the view option and preview. So what I've done here is I can either create this on Word and save it as a PDF, or you can scan in letter-headed paper. It's completely up to you. You can even leave this out and then print on letter-headed paper. So we've got the header and footer and then a signature. And you can see exactly where that's going to go within my template. So this is kind of the print view here. I don't expect you to kind of read any of this. We've got the text box at the bottom here. I appreciate that's fairly small there on the screen. So what you would do here is you'd select the paragraph and you can customize the font and the color and the sort of the layout, page breaks, everything along those lines. And you've got the text box at the bottom here. So the important thing to mention is the software uses database tags to bring in this information so that it can be saved as a global template. So you can see I've got 3 database tags here. I've got the client title, the client full name, and then the client address. Now I can drag and drop these database tags directly into this particular template, to include whichever information that I want. And that can range from general database tags, which are going to be the names, the dates, email addresses, but it can also include tax return information. So I can even bring in the first payment on account. I can bring in the total tax due, the tax year, even the IR mark, for example. So if I use IR mark as an example, you can see I've just added the database tag in there. You can see it's just dropped into my template, in my print view, so that now every time I produce my individual tax return covering letter, it's going to come up with a client's IR mark in that particular area. Now, obviously, this is an area that we do provide quick start guides on within BTC software. If you go into the help menu and help again, you can see all these different quick start guides that are offered. And within practice management, it covers the covering letters and also the client letters. And it is something that our support team would help you get up and running with, so that you've got your letterhead and signature in there so that you're ready to go. Now, as well as that, we've got the client letters. So we've got a couple of templates in here that you can already use. So we've got tax questionnaires, payment reminder letters, engagement letters, or you can see I've created some of my own here, even a birthday invite. And if I edit the report template, let's go for an engagement letter, for example. You can see this particular one is being saved as a personal template. Now, what this likely means is that this particular client has specific information that is on their engagement letter that maybe wouldn't be on someone else's. So in that reason, it's being saved as a personal template and not a global template. Now, again, you can see the database tags at the top here. You've got it's bringing in your details. So your company, the address, the date, and then the client's details. And we'll have some database tags at the bottom. Now, actually, what we would recommend you do here, and I'm sure you've got an engagement letter that you're continuing to use, you can keep the database tags that we've got at the bottom and at the top, and you can literally just copy and paste the body of your engagement letter directly over ours, and then within about 5 minutes you've got yourselves a global template of an engagement letter. And if you want to, you can insert an image from file as well, and you can add in those logos, those headers and footers. So we've got folders next, which is our document management. So we can scan in a document moving towards that paperless office. If you wanted to scan in, for example, an invoice directly into the software, you can link it up to your printer. You can move in a single document as well if you want to. I can move any of the documents into the software directly from the desktop. Or if you've got client folders, you can move in the whole client folder as well. And you can see I've got some different invoices saved under my different folders. Now, when you bring a document into here, you've got a few different options. You can view it, you can edit it, you can email it, and it will give you a quick warning about GDPR, which again is going to segue me into the next point. In line with GDPR, we've linked with two companies, MyDocSafe and DocuSign. And what that will allow you to do is if I select the MyDocSafe option, I can add a personal message in here. I can request for an electronic signature, select OK. And that document is going to go directly from BTC software through a secure portal, so it can't be intercepted via email. Then the client is email notified with a link to sign into their MyDocSafe account, so your client gets their own kind of mini client portal where they can manage all their documents and electronically sign them, and then send it straight back to you through that secure portal. So that's MyDocSafe and DocuSign. We've got files, which is for tracking physical files. If you've got any files archived, stored outside of the office, you can keep a track of those in here. And then I'll finish on this one here, which is the notes section. Now, this is a free-form note section in which you want to make any notes on your client, whether that's jotting down the nature of a telephone call, or that could even be leaving notes to other members of staff within the practice. So that's each of the different tabs explained there, and that's all of the practice management features that I'm going to be going over in today's webinar. We are going to be moving on to year-end accounts. If you've got any questions following what you've just seen there, do let me know. Use that questions box, and we should have time to cover those at the end. But what we're going to do now is we're going to move back into this particular tab here, Task, Tax and Accounts Production Returns. Now, just so that we can start afresh, I'm going to delete my current corporation tax and set of year-end accounts. Now, this is kind of worth showing you here. As I delete these particular events, as a kind of a safety net feature, and you'll see these throughout the software, you're unable to delete anything that's currently has the status of in progress or further. So what you have to do is double click on the event to open it. You would then discard it, and then you'll be able to delete it. Like so. And then we should be able to delete the event. So we're going to choose the add option under my task, tax and accounts production returns tab. So we saw a customized event earlier. This time we're going to go to a system defined one. So we're going to choose the year-end accounts task. Now you'll see there, as I've selected year-end accounts, it's automatically picked up my accounting period. And that's because I've got a prior year here that's already been completed. So it's automatically rolling forward from the prior year. If it's your first year of trading or you need to amend that, you just choose from the calendar drop down. Now, as well as that, we can choose the start date, the due date, and the reminder date and time. But we did see that earlier with the customized task. So for now, we're just going to go ahead and view and edit the year-end accounts. Now that's going to open up a year-end accounts summary, where it's going to bring through all the relevant information from the details tab. And importantly, it's going to allow us to choose our accounts production template. So whether that's one of the standard ones, or if you want to create your own by cloning one of our existing templates, you can create your own template, such as a doctor's template or something to do with farming and agriculture, as some of our clients have done. So I'm going to choose this one here, which is going to be the correct one for my particular client, which is going to be the company small FRS 1021A. As well as that, I can choose the audited accountants reports, and I've got the options for audited and abridged accounts as well. Now, if we open up the year-end accounts, what that's going to do is that's going to transition us from using the client hub and the practice management features directly into the year-end accounts module. And we'll get a notification there saying, are we sure we want to roll forward the trial balance from the prior year? To which we'll say yes. And you can see we're presented with the cover page for the set of accounts here. Now, over in the table of contents on the left-hand side, we've got the different pages of the report. And if I scroll down to extended trial balance, I'm just going to move this editing panel over to the right-hand side. If we scroll to the right-hand side here, you can see where I've rolled forward from my prior year, my comparatives have entered into column J. So it's now up for me to get my figures into the original trial balance column, or the current year, which is in column C. Now there's loads of different ways that we can build up the extended trial balance within BTC software. I'm going to go through all of the different ways, and then you can kind of decide which one is going to be work best for you in your practice. So the first way is that I can manually key the figures directly in. Now, another running theme throughout the software is whenever we see these dark grey boxes, it means we can manually key figures directly into those. And these white ones here, these are going to be your calculations. So that's the first way, is that we can manually key the figures directly against the descriptors. Probably the slowest way, and I wouldn't recommend that unless you've got a really, really simple set of accounts, because there's going to be other methods that are a lot faster. You've got journals. Now, the majority of our clients would use journals for actually using these as adjustments rather than using them to actually build up the extended trial balance. But you can choose ledgers, accounts, debits and credits. And we'll come back to journals in a second, and I'm going to add one of those in a second. We've got incomplete records. Now, this is kind of a mini bookkeeping package. If you've got a client who comes in with a shoebox of receipts, doesn't use any sort of bookkeeping package, you can add bank accounts into here, introduce opening balances up at the top, and then you can log those payments and receipts directly into the software. Now, if you already use third-party software such as Digita or Iris that use nominal codes, you can go into our nominal codes section up at the top here. You can change our existing nominal codes to the ones that you're familiar with, maybe learnt off by heart, and you can also change our descriptions as well and add existing or add new custom nominal codes as well. So that's for the manual posting. And then finally, we've got our most used option, which is going to be this one here, which is the trial balance import. And this is where we're importing from any of those different bookkeeping packages that you can see on screen, or we're choosing the custom option to import via an Excel spreadsheet. Now, we're going to be looking at importing via a bookkeeping package. If you're interested in importing via an Excel spreadsheet, actually, as soon as yesterday, we uploaded a video on our YouTube channel that shows how to upload via an Excel spreadsheet. So that'll be saving your spreadsheet as a CSV file, and you'll be able to upload that into BTC software. And the auto mapping is still available. So where you do the mapping, where you're mapping your IDs and codes to BTCSoftware's ledgers and accounts, when you roll forward, it's going to remember all of that mapping that you've done in the prior year. Now, there are 4 online bookkeeping packages that we work with specifically. You've got Xero, QuickBooks Online, Free Agent, and Reckon One. As well as browsing for a CSV file, what we've also got is the option to download. And what that's going to allow us to do is it will allow me to log into the bookkeeping package directly from within BTCSoftware. So I'm going to be logging in here. And upon logging in, we can allow access for 30 minutes. And what we're doing here is we're creating a token so that we don't have to keep logging in for every different action that we take throughout the software. So I can allow access now for 30 minutes, which means I don't have to log in for 30 minutes. Select yes to import, and we'll get to our trial balance mapping screen. So what we're seeing here is you can see, and some of you that might use Xero might recognize these, you've got the Xero codes listed on the left-hand side and descriptions, and it's mapping those codes and descriptions to BTCSoftware's ledgers and accounts. So these figures that you can see here, these values, are going to go into the correct boxes within my extended trial balance. Now this kind of works in like a traffic light system would, and it successfully mapped these ones in green. The software would attempt to guess these ones in yellow, and you can tick them off if they're correct. And then the ones in red, it's just a case of choosing from the drop down. So you've got legal and professional fees there. So we're going to go to administrative expenses and just drop down until we can find something similar. So there we go, other legal and professional costs. Now, as I'm mapping these ledgers and accounts, when I roll forward into the following year, it's going to remember all of the mapping that I've done. So if you can imagine now we roll forward into the following year and we import from Xero, and there aren't any new IDs or descriptions, because we've mapped all of these ledgers and accounts in prior years, when we select import, or when we select download and open, we're going to get a complete green trial balance mapping screen like this. And all we have to do is choose import. Are you sure you want to import? We'll select yes. And all of those figures are going to go directly into the extended trial balance. There you go. Now, obviously, at the moment, we've got a lot of boxes here with no numerical value. And there's a tool up at the top here to combat that called the Collapse Empty Data tool. And that will get rid of those unused cells. And there you go, give us a much nicer view of our extended trial balance. So you can see that clearly. Now, that's obviously going to pull through into our different areas. So where we've got our detailed profit and loss, we've got a balance sheet, profit and loss, and then also notes to the accounts. We can amend any notes to the accounts, and if you want to, you can collapse or you can change any of the notes to the accounts. If you unenable the protection, you can make any amendments to the template that you want to, or even customize to create your own. Now, once we've got our figures into here, we might want to do any, or we might want to make an adjustment post importing. So the way that we do that is we choose the journals option. We'll give it a description. Let's call it journal adjustment. And I'm just going to choose these top 2 options here, so turnover versus cost of sales. Now, I have got a nominal code. It's brought in the nominal code from Xero. It's not recognized one from opening stock because it's not something that I brought in from Xero, and it might give me a warning, but we won't worry about that for the sake of the webinar. So we can save and close that adjustment. Select OK, and our journal is just going to drop into column D. So we can have multiple entries under one journal, or we could have multiple journals and it will push everything from column E to the right hand side. Now, as well as being able to log into the bookkeeping package directly from within BTCSoftware, if we make any adjustments, whether that's through journals or whether that's bringing in the corporation tax provision, we can push that back out into the bookkeeping package again directly from within BTCSoftware. So it's not a one-way street, it's a two-way integration. We can pull information in and we can push it back out again. Now, to do that, I'm going to show you that through this journal adjustment here. We can choose the print option, select journal export, choose export. There's my quick warning about nominal codes that we'll ignore. It's going to recognize that we've imported from Xero, so it's selecting Xero automatically for me. I can choose upload and update. And we should get a nice message to say that that particular journal, there we go, is now successfully uploaded into Xero. And if we want to view that, we just click yes. It's going to open up Xero within my browser. I can log in. And you can see there's my adjustment that's been posted into 0, and you can see the timestamp at the bottom there. Now, once we're happy with the year-end accounts, the next stage is to check the accounts and generate the iXBRL file. Now, as I do this, it's important to check the report information that we've got on the left-hand side here to make sure that we've assigned the associated individual to the report for signing. So you can see I've got a number of associated individuals and an organization, but I'm selecting myself here for this fictitious company for the signing. And I can check the accounts and generate the iXBRL file. Now, as I do this, I'll get a couple of warnings, but it's a good chance to explain that we do have warning and error messages within the software, which kind of act as safety net features so that you can't go wrong. Now, the difference between the two is an error will affect the final submission, therefore won't allow you to move on until you've rectified it, whereas a warning won't affect the final submission. It will give you a warning because it is still important, but you can move on, so you can override the warning. Now, a good example of the warning is the page numbering that I've got at the bottom here. So I've deliberately left the page numbering out to show you this warning because Companies House aren't worried about the page numbering on your report, but obviously when you send that report to the client, that's going to affect the aesthetics of the report. So it's something that's vital in terms of sending the report to the client. You want it to look as good as possible, but it's not actually vital for Companies House and the submission of the year-end accounts. So for the sake of the webinar, we're going to override these warnings for now. And following that, we should get a nice message to say our year-end accounts were checked and that all-important iXBRL file generated successfully. There we go. Now, the next stage is to move on to the corporation tax module. So we choose the small x now to come out of the year-end accounts module and go back out into our summary. And you can see now it's now giving the option to open up the CT return. And that'll open up a summary similar to the one that we can see on screen. So we've got two summaries. One's for submitting to Companies House, which you can see there. And this one's for submitting to HMRC. So they're going to two different places. So we've got two different submission windows. So if I open up the CT Comp and CT 600, that's going to move us into the corporation tax module. And all the figures that we've entered into the extended trial balance are now going to pull through into the corporation tax module into my adjustment of profit. So again, it's a two-way integration. If I wanted to add further add backs or deductions into here by just manually keying these in, then obviously that would reciprocate in the accounts production module. If I go to corporation tax calculation, scroll down and across slightly, you can see it's already worked out my corporation tax chargeable figure. So really all that I'm having to do within the corporation tax module is any supplementary schedules, and they're going to be your capital allowances, capital gains, R&D, property pages, or any of these specialist CT600 forms like loans to participators, directors, or CT600E for charities, for example. Now, if we say this is a fairly simple corporation tax calculation, I don't have any of these supplementary schedules included. Actually, I'm sure you'll recognize some of these different CT600 pages. I'm going to go ahead and check the return and generate the iXBRL file. Now, as I do that, I'll get an error. So we've seen a warning already. I'll show you an example of an error that you'll receive within the software. So if I go to check the return and generate the iXBRL file, I should have two errors. There we go. One is going to be a declaration name and the other is going to be a declaration status. So you can see I wasn't able to override these messages as this will affect the final submission. Now, eventually in a future release, coming very soon, what we will have is you'll be able to double click on this particular error and it will take you to that exact box. But for the moment, we've got a nice long description and we've also got a box number, so you can't go wrong. So it's telling us that we're missing these two descriptions in box 975 and 985. So if we go to our corporation tax return, you can see it's simple as that. We just enter in the name and the status. And now that we've eliminated those errors, if we check the return and generate the iXBRL file again, we should get a nice message to say it checked and generated successfully. And that corporation tax payable figure that we've just seen will automatically post into the extended trial balance. And as well as that, it's going to post as a journal so that we can push that back out into the extended trial balance. There we go. So if I choose the small x to come out of here, open up my year-end accounts, and we go to my extended trial balance, you can see in column E, there's my corporation tax payable figure. And as well as that, as I said, it's posted as a journal, so you can push that back out into the bookkeeping package with all of your journal adjustments. So now that we've got that figure in there, we can check the accounts and generate the iXBRL file a final time to complete off the accounts. We're going to override the warnings for the sake of the demo. we'll get a nice message to say it checked and generated, and then we can move on to create a report to send directly to the client. There we go. So I can choose the small X. Now, at any point, you can choose the print option, and you can print the year-end accounts and the summarized and detailed chart balance. I'm going to show you a slightly different way of viewing the report. Is you can select this one here when you're ready. So send to client for review. Well, that's firstly going to allow me to choose the different pages that I want to send to the client, whether it's a full set of accounts. I might just want to send a filleted set of accounts, or I might want to add any of these additional pages on. And if I create my report, I've got my different options. So I can send it through that secure portal. I can email it, save it as a PDF, print. I'll show you a preview. Now again, this is an example of a covering letter which includes a logo and a signature. The covering page. There's our P&L. Our balance sheet. Notes the accounts, and then we should have our detailed P&L at the bottom. Now, once we send that to the client, we'll see our status, and you can see it's just changed there. Our status for the year-end accounts has just changed to with client for review. So that's an example of how the statuses are going to be changing throughout your usage of the software so that you can track them really nice and easily with absolutely no effort required, so minimal effort. So if I go to pending events, and let's look for our year-end accounts. So if I search for year-end accounts here, there you go. Straight away, you can see the one that we've been working on because it's with client for review, and it's showing us that we spent 12 active minutes within the year-end accounts module. So you can see the time recording on the right-hand side there. And if you want to drill that down into user time or client time summary, then you can do that as well. Now, once we sent that to the client and they're happy with it, we can submit to Companies House. Firstly, we've got to confirm we've got the authority from the client to submit. We've got options for filleted and full accounts, and we can select submit. And obviously, I've got submission failed here because I'm just using a demonstration version of the product, but hopefully you should have a nice message to say that was accepted. So for the corporation tax return now, we can open up the CT Comp and CT 600. Check and generate in here as we're attaching those new iXBRL set of accounts that have the corporation taxpayer bill figure in them. So it's in that mandatory format for filing to HMRC. We'd then be able to produce a corporation tax report for the client, and then we'd be able to submit directly to HMRC. There we go. So I can choose a small X to come out of here, submit to HMRC. As I said, you can send a report to the client as well, or you can attach it with the year-end accounts. If I confirm I've got the authority, I can submit. So there we go. That's going to actually draw a conclusion to the demonstration of the product. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to tab back out into my presentation, and you can view how to look at the software for yourself. So if you're not already using BTC software, you've got a few different methods in terms of viewing the software, either via a one-to-one demo. So we provide one-to-one demos free of charge. If you're not using BTC software, we can build a bespoke demo depending on what you want to see, whether it's even if you're looking at today's webinar, for example, and you wanted to look at the self-assessment, get in touch and we can organize that as well. You've also got the option to take out a 15-day no obligation free trial of our software, and you can do that through our website. And then also our YouTube channel. So we're uploading a video a week, whether that's support style videos, whether that's showcase style videos, or recorded webinars such as this one. Actually, this particular webinar, no pressure on me, is going to be uploaded onto our YouTube channel. So if you wanted to grab a recording of today's webinar, this one is actually being uploaded. So you can look at that as well. So there we go. That's going to draw a conclusion to this morning's webinar. We have got a couple of minutes for some questions and answers. You're more than welcome to contact us if we don't get through any of your questions. You've got the full new business sales team there, which includes me. That's me looking very happy and ginger on the golf course there. We've got Tim in New York, and I think that's Tom in Reykjavik in Iceland, I believe. So there's a contact number there for us. There's the email address as well, or you can email any of us at our full names. So Dan Keane at BTC Software or Tim Pierce at BTCSoftware.co.uk. So thank you everyone for your attendance. As